Right on the chin. Mamma mia! What a knee! You cannot stand in front of that man. That power is different. It's extraordinary.
Another opponent to the lead. What a head kick.
It's all over. A spectacular finish, just like that.
Headshot, bang, done.
What's up, everyone? We're back with another episode of The Fight Corner. This week, taking a look back at UFC Noche, or UFC 306, Omalley versus Dvalishvili. Really great fight card. I mean, in the Sphere, super iconic, historic event. We're going to be breaking down the entire card, taking a look at who took home the additional bonuses, as well as some additional thoughts I had about the Sphere and the show itself. So, without any further ado, let's get into this week's episode. And of course, your main event is Sean O'Malley taking on Merab Dvalishvili for the UFC Bantamweight Championship. Dvalishvili getting in on takedowns early and implementing his game plan and landing the far better shots in the feet as well in the first round. In the second, another great round for Dvalishvili, just an unstoppable force, constantly grinding on Omalley, beating him up on the ground and just having his way through 2 rounds. And Dvalishvili did get warned for kissing Omalley near the end of the second round on the back of the neck, and I guess thinking he thought the round was over, nearly got caught by an Omalley right hand. In the third, Dvalishvili again getting a hold of Omalley and landing a good knee to the head and another before an illegal one. But the action continues as Omalley breaks to the center and Dvalishvili just attacking that lead leg of Omalley, who ends the round with a good left hand and a knee as well up the middle. In the fourth, Dvalishvili punches his way into a beautiful takedown right into half guard, where Omalley does land a solid elbow of his own from the bottom, cutting Dvalishvili. But he is unfazed and continues to look for strikes and just smother Omalley, just basically bullying him. In the fifth, a basic overhand right into a single leg from Dvalishvili, again getting Omalley to the ground and grinding him against the cage. Omalley is able to break to the center and lands a front kick to the body that clearly hurt Dvalishvili, and Omalley continues to look to land on that same spot and a nice knee up the middle as well, finally putting some pressure on Dvalishvili, but he does end the round on his back. And this was a unanimous decision victory for Merab Dvalishvili, 49-46 by one of the judges and 48-47 by the other 2. And this was, again, just a typical Merab performance, getting a hold of the guy, gripping onto him, beating him up. And it will be interesting to see who he takes on next. Umar Nurmagomedov obviously would be an amazing matchup that I would love to see. They might try to run it back with Omalley, but I do doubt that very much. And in your co-main event, we had Alexa Grasso taking on Valentina Shevchenko for the Women's Flyweight Championship. Shevchenko landing good counter right hook in the first before getting the fight to the ground. And Grasso did look at going for a triangle, then to an armbar, but no real threat there. Shevchenko landing a solid elbow from the top position, and when Grasso did try to scramble back up to her feet, she did get her back taken. In the second, Shevchenko again easily getting the fight to the ground. Grasso thought about an omoplata or possible gogoplata, but abandoned it, and Grasso again nearly with the triangle / armbar, but Shevchenko shucks it off right into side control. And from there, Grasso looked for the inverted triangle and also got a Kimura lock on the left arm, but Shevchenko is able to defend and end the round on top. In the third, another easy takedown for Shevchenko into half guard, and when Grasso moved, Shevchenko immediately jumped on her back and held her there for the end of the round. In the fourth, Shevchenko again in on the takedown, but this time Grasso defends with the arm-in guillotine, and it looked tight, and Grasso nearly rolled to the mounted guillotine, but Shevchenko survives and ending in top position, finishing the round with Grasso in the crucifix. And in the 5th, Grasso still not able to get anything going, briefly getting to the back, but Shevchenko scrambled to the better position and grinded the champ for the rest of the round against the cage, and again getting the fight to the ground and ending the round on Grasso's back. And this was one of the easier decisions I think these judges would ever have to make. And it was obviously unanimous, 50-45 across the board for the new women's flyweight champion, Valentina Shevchenko. In your feature bout, it was Brian Ortega taking on Diego Lopes in the featherweight division. And Lopes cracks Ortega early with a right hand and then a left hook behind it, nearly dropping him. And Lopes chases Ortega, following up with strikes before Ortega eventually drops to the canvas and landing some solid shots on the ground, eventually letting Ortega back to the feet. But this was a clear first round for Diego Lopes. In the 2nd, Lopes stinging Ortega early with another left hand and a right behind it. Ortega is still landing some shots on the feet, primarily his jab, but Lopes was beating up that lead leg and came real close with the head kick before dropping Ortega with another low kick, letting Ortega back to the feet, where Lopes continued to attack the lead leg of Ortega, but Ortega was having some good success still on the feet, landing his jab several times and popping Lopes's head back with some right hands as well. In the 3rd, much more the same, Lopes having more success on the feet than Ortega. And while Ortega is still landing shots, the ones coming back from Lopes are far more dangerous and powerful. Ortega did look to get in on a takedown, but it's well defended by Lopes to keep the fight on the feet. And he continues to land on Ortega, and he blasts him with a left hand that hurts Ortega to the eye and allows Lopes to briefly get to the back against the cage. But they break to the center, where Ortega still looking for his shots, but he gets dropped by a Lopes left hand, sending him to the ground, with Lopes looking for ground and pound before Ortega works back to his feet and they swing to the bell. Another great performance from Diego Lopes, and this was a clear unanimous decision victory, 30-26 by one of the judges and 30-27 by the other two. And maybe it was just me, but it did seem like some of the commentary was kind of leaning towards saying that Ortega was really kind of in this fight and it was maybe much more even than it actually was. I didn't see that at all. I saw Lopes leading this thing from the beginning all the way through to the final bell, with Ortega trying to implement his game plan and get something going, but was just unable to really at any point in the fight. Lopes's striking on the feet was far better, and it looked like they would have canceled each other out on the ground if it would have kind of gone there as well. Next up on the main card, it was Daniel Zellhuber taking on Esteban Ribovics in the lightweight division. Zellhuber doing a really good job in the first round, using his lead hand with the jab and the lead left hook and having a lot of success with it and landing some solid combinations. Ribovics had his moments, but it's Zellhuber leading this one going through the first. In the second, both having success, landing good shots on the feet, back and forth, and some real good work from Ribovics late in the round, landing hard shots on Zellhuber, who fires back shots of his own, and a nice exchange in close with Zellhuber landing a knee up the middle. And a real fast start to the third, with both landing some beautiful shots and a solid double jab followed by an elbow from Zellhuber, and they continue to go back and forth before Zellhuber drops Ribovics with another elbow in close, but he works it to a takedown that Zellhuber defends. And they continue to go back and forth, with Ribovics landing a left hand and an overhand right, sending Zellhuber back to the fence, covering up as Ribovics unloads a flurry of shots against the cage, looking for the finish. But Zellhuber keeps moving, some real good head movement even though he is clearly dazed, avoiding many of the shots coming back at him, but he's still rocked, and Ribovics digging to the body now, with Zellhuber firing back, landing right hands that briefly back Ribovics up, but he continues to pressure Zellhuber against the cage, and they're still going back and forth with each refusing to give an inch, and they throw down to the final bell to a standing ovation from the crowd. And the judges were torn on this one. It was a split decision for Esteban Ribovics, with two of the judges scoring it 29-28 in his favor, and the other judge 29-28 for Zellhuber. This is a fantastic fight for Esteban Ribovics, really great win. And Zellhuber, even though he does come up with the loss in this fight, this is going to give him a lot of experience going forward, and he will learn from this. Really excited to see what's going to be next for both of these guys after putting on what is going to definitely be in the contention for fight of the year. And kicking off the main card, it was Ronaldo Rodríguez taking on Osbourne in the men's flyweight division. Osbourne clearly the faster fighter, landing some nice 1-2s to start the first, and he drops Rodríguez with a right hand and follows it up with some ground and pound, and it looked like it was all over, but Rodríguez wrestled up and looked to get on top, but ended up in a deep triangle, and Osbourne landed some hard elbows from the bottom as well. But Rodríguez did not tap and ends up in Osbourne's guard, looking for ground and pound, but Osbourne fires back some elbows and hammer fists from the bottom. In the second, Osbourne locking up a guillotine off of a Rodríguez single leg, but Rodríguez does a great job rolling out and ending up on top in mount with the body triangle, landing some serious ground and pound, and did a really great job of controlling Osbourne, who had moments to get on top, but the grappling from Rodríguez was just one step ahead until the end of the round, where Osbourne is able to roll through and land some hard shots before the end of the round. Great sprawl from Osbourne off the Rodríguez takedown early in the third, and Osbourne using his jab really well, but Rodríguez landing his left hand also. And Rodríguez defends the takedown from Osbourne near the end of the round and ends up on top, finishing the round looking for ground and pound. And this went to a judge's decision, and it was unanimous for Ronaldo Rodríguez, 29-28 by one of the judges and 29-27 by the other two. And in your feature prelim, it was Irene Aldana taking on Norma Dumont in the women's Bantamweight division. Good opening round for Dumont, landing the better shots, front kicks and attacking the legs, and some real good shots upstairs as well, and doing a great job of avoiding many of the attacks coming back at her. Aldana does need to stop the movement of Dumont, as she is moving to her power side, but in the second, Dumont continuing to have the better of it. Aldana did have some moments of success, but she got busted up at the end of the round from the Dumont strikes coming back at her, and there was a clash of heads that did cause a cut on the forehead of Aldana. In the third, Dumont still having success on the feet, and Aldana is covered in blood, but she lands a solid elbow in close that seemed to hurt Dumont, and Aldana staying with the forward pressure, landing shots, but Dumont still having the better of it, popping that jab and really attacking that cut. And they showed that cut on Aldana's forehead at the end of the fight, and it was brutal. That is definitely the worst cut I've ever seen, trumping the Marvin Eastman Vitor Belfort cut way back at UFC 43, because it's not straight, it splits off, and that is going to be tough to heal up. And this was a unanimous decision victory for Norma Dumont, 30-27 on all of the judges' scorecards, and yeah, she's going to be moving up to some top 5 competition in that women's bantamweight division. Next up on your prelims, it was Manuel Torres taking on Ignacio Bahamondes in the lightweight division. Torres looking good early with a straight left popping Bahamondes' head back and staying in his face. But Bahamondes is landing some good shots of his own in close and then catching Torres with a head kick before slipping the Torres left hand and dropping him with a beautiful counter right. And Bahamondes followed Torres to the ground, but led him back up to his feet, only to drop him again with the same right hand after slipping another left and finishing the fight with some ground and pound. Just a really great striking performance from Bahamondes. Great counter striking, avoiding those lefts and then the step back right hands. Both picture perfect shots right on the same spot. And there is seemingly nothing but big things coming up for Ignacio Bahamondes. Next up, it was Yasmin Jauregui taking on Ketlin Souza in the women's strawweight division. Jauregui looking sharp in the opening round, but Souza landing some shots of her own before dropping Jauregui with a solid right and then a left hand, and Souza jumps on Jauregui, locking in the choke, and she puts her to sleep, going out punching just like Holly Holm did versus Miesha Tate. And that was a great performance from Ketlin Souza. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens with her next. She was a massive underdog in this fight, but again, great performance. Next up on the prelims, we had Edgar Chairez taking on Joshua Van in the men's flyweight division. Chairez landing some ruthless kicks to the body and the legs, and landing some good shots with the hands as well, and a really nice knee to the head from the clinch. And Van is landing his own shots as well, but Chairez drops Van with a straight right near the end of the first and stays in his face till the end of the round, landing more shots. Van comes out a completely different fighter in the second, sticking his jab and landing hard low kicks on Chairez before attacking the body and eventually hurting Chairez with a left hand and then a series of shots to the body and the head. And it looked like Chairez was nearly out on his feet, but he launched a spinning back fist off the cage, hurting Van, backing him up with Chairez landing a knee before Van takes the fight to the ground in a wild opening 2 minutes. And Van lets Chairez back up to his feet, and he connects with some hard right hands, rocking Van again, forcing him to look for the takedown and get the fight to the ground. And Chairez thought about a guillotine but let it go, and Van finished the second round in top position. And this is all coming down into the third round, where Chairez looking for the trip early on but ends up on bottom position. He does a great job though of working back to his feet, but Van is able to eventually secure the takedown against the fence and control Chairez for the rest of the round, landing some good ground and pound as well. And this went to a judge's decision, which was unanimous for Joshua Van, 29-28 by all three judges. And kicking off the entire card, it was Raul Rosas Jr. taking on Orichilang in the Bantamweight division. Lot of kicks from Rosas Jr. in the first before getting in on a single leg and dragging Orichilang to the ground and landing some solid ground and pound before passing into half guard and then moving to the back, controlling from the top position and looking to land some more ground and pound before the end of the round. In the second, bit of a different story, Orichilang stuffing all the takedowns from Rosas Jr. and landing some good shots on the feet as well, with both having a wild exchange late in the round and Orichilang stuffing another one of Rosas Jr.'s takedowns. Yeah, it's all the fight for going into the third, where Rosas Jr. was able to get in on the takedown early, getting Orichilang to the mat. But Orichilang did a good job working back to his feet, but only to get dumped right back to the mat by Rosas, with Rosas looking for knees from the top position, forcing Orichilang to scramble, but Rosas stays tight, remaining in top position, controlling and landing shots for the rest of the round. And this went to a judge's decision, which was unanimous for Rosas Jr., 29-28 times 3 on all the judges' scorecards. The bonuses for the evening: fight of the night went to Esteban Ribovics and Daniel Zellhuber for their for sure fight of the year candidate. And your performance of the night bonuses went to Ketlin Souza for her rear naked choke finish of Yasmin Jauregui, and also to Ignacio Bahamondes for his TKO victory over Manuel Torres in what was a beautiful display of striking, all well deserving of the 50,000. Again, 100,000 minimum for these. It should be. Don't know when that's going to change, but it's got to be sometime soon. With regards to the production value of the event, I mean, obviously it was second to none. All the animations were just so amazing, and the history of Mexico being told in that way, in that event, just truly breathtaking and unbelievable. I do think that they're obviously going to do a lot of the bigger cards here in the future. Probably all the international fight weeks, big pay-per-views in the future. I do wonder about one thing, whether or not there was supposed to be some graphics for the first few prelims, especially for Rosas Jr. It did look a bit bare with nothing going on, but I mean, other than that, I mean, it was a 10 out of 10, and I think most fight fans would agree on that. And that does it for another episode of The Fight Corner. Thank you, everyone, again for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because it all does go a really long way. We'll be back with another episode of The Fight Corner for Benoit Saint Denis versus Manny Moicano. Hopefully doing a breakdown show, and then obviously, or I should say a preview show, and then a breakdown show of the card itself. I'm also hoping to get another episode of UFC by the numbers, episode 5, looking back at obviously UFC number 5 coming up as well. So stay tuned for that. Once again, thank you all for tuning in, and until next time, peace.